Three things you need to know about me. I like expensive woman. Exhibit A, my wife Susan. I like expensive cars and I like expensive shoes. I've only been able to put forward one expensive pair of shoes in my life, one expensive woman, but every few years, well, you know. I want to talk to you today about what sort of prayers are right to bring to God. But to do that, we're going to go a circuitous route. We're going to look at the book, the lesson from Kings, the prophets Elijah and Elisha. We're going to look at Jesus and his response to the Samaritans being turned away. And we're going to start with a little bit of stories and anecdotes. And I'm going to start with a story that took place in 1997. I can't even imagine such a time far away, not long ago. It was my first overseas teaching mission. And when I was a younger man, I would go off and I would teach in schools for clergy around the world. And I would later go on to Africa, to Nigeria, and Zimbabwe, and South Africa. But this first trip was to Delhi, India. And I had never been to India before. And it takes a long time to get there, and we were living in England at the time, and the flights from England arrive in India about 6 in the morning. And when you fly into Delhi, and it was the summer, it's a giant dust bowl, but it's not hot like it is outside here, it's dry heat. And there's this sort of orange dust everywhere, and all the animal smells, and the cart smells, and the human smells. And I took my little bus down into Delhi, and I was staying at the YMCA, and I had to be at the cathedral, the Anglican cathedral, at 9 o'clock. But it's about only 7:30 or so. So I had plenty of time, and I was really hyped up. And I was excited because this was going to be my first teaching class to teach Indian bishops how the structures of the Anglican world work. And so I was all dressed up. I had my beautiful Brooks Brothers tropical weight tan suit on. I had my expensive pair of shoes, my New York City crocodile loafers I got when I was in my early 20s, and Susan's never let me buy another pair of shoes. Friends, one of the things I discovered is when you get old, your feet get fat. Did you know this was true? I didn't. All this money invested in shoes, I can't wear them anymore because my feet are fat. So I looked the perfect picture of the Great White Father, come to share my knowledge to the people of India. But I got an hour and a half, 2 hours to kill. And I had never been to India before. And the YMCA, it's fascinating. The English did a great job in building the capital city of Delhi. Because there's Delhi, the Indian city, and then New Delhi, which is the English city next to the Indian city. And they have these gigantic thoroughfares, 10, 12 lanes wide. Big public buildings. And you have the Lok Sabha, the parliament. And at the end of the avenue, on the other side, you have what used to be the Governor General's palace. It's now the presidential palace. And on one spoke, you have the Supreme Court. It's a big giant circle with a big roundabout. And being an English city in India, what's on the fourth point of the spoke? The Anglican Cathedral. And I'm looking around, and I'd only seen pictures and films of the days, you know, some of these TV melodramas about India and everything, and it looks just like it. And the people are so different. Races, you know, different colors, different religions, different languages. And I'm walking around just looking at all these things, and I'm just like in awe. And I come to the roundabout. And in India, the traffic, it's even worse than Ocala. They don't really, you know, you don't just drive on the right side or the left side, you just drive wherever you're going. And they will get out of the way. But and in the middle of this roundabout, it was not the roundabout, but one of the big one I came to, there was a police pavilion, and there was a Sikh, a tall Sikh policeman, big turban, waxed mustache, beard, just out of the movies. White cross belt in his tan uniform with short short pants, directing traffic, nobody paying in the slightest mind. And I cross the street, taking my life in my hand, over to the pavilion because I want to go that way. And I start walking this way, and he turns to me, Sahib! Yes, they actually talk like that. Sahib, sir, do not go that way. I said, I beg your pardon. Do not go that way. Why not? Urchins! No, I'm from Florida. Urchins are little black things you step on at the beach. Do not go that way. There are urchins. They will molest you. Well, I'm an American. I have an American Express card. Nothing can go wrong in my life. So I start down the street, and sure enough, crowds of little boys. Crowds, I don't know how many were, dozens of them. Little boys run up, all sort of coming, they pull the edge of my jacket, no, I don't want anything, and, shanshu, newspaper, just trying to sell me stuff with that, and sort of in a mix of all languages, some had a few words of English, no, shanshu, no, I'm fine, and you're not touching these shoes. And sure enough, there was an entrepreneurial lad in the crowd. Did I tell you what the smells of India are like? Wood smoke, diesel fumes, dirt, and what do you see when you read National Geographic or look at movies walking around Indian cities? Cows. Cows are not house-trained. There's a great deal of manure everywhere. It's like going, from my memory, it's like going back to the Philadelphia Zoo. There's stuff everywhere. And a very enterprising little boy picked up something that was on the ground, came up to me, and dashed this stuff across my shoes. And then he ran away. And then another boy said, "Shanshu!" Well, these were the shoes that I was going to wear to my first class. So yes, I thought I'd get a shoe shine. And the British were very kind. When they left India in 1947, 48, they left the country in a terrible civil war, but at least they left benches in the city. And so I sat down on a bench. The little boy got on his box. I handed him my shoes and he ran away. And then an older boy came up to me and said, "For 50 rupee, about $1, I'll get your shoes back." And sure enough, I wasn't going to walk around India in my socks. I could have, you can get away with dress mistakes in India pretty easily. But I paid the ransom and I got my shoes back. And they were polished too. So I have experience of urchins. The story of Elijah and Elisha, the whirlwind, and the miracles Elisha performs afterwards sort of follow about urchins. If we look at the end of the beginning of 2 Kings, 1 Kings is about primarily the ministry of the prophet Elijah. And his disciple, his man whom he had raised up to follow him, was Elisha. And Elisha, and our reading begins with 2 or 3 attempts of Elijah saying, "Okay, it's time to go, I'm going away, it's ready for me, I'm going to die." And Elijah says, "I will stay with you." Finally, the end has come. And Elijah says, "Is there anything I can give you? My final blessings, my final word, what do you want my watch?" And Elisha says, "Give me a double portion of your blessing." Now, if you're a good, well-brought-up American, you think, that's pretty rude, isn't it? That's a little pushy. You shouldn't say stuff like that. Well, in the Jewish world, in the Hebrew world, it doesn't mean I want to be piggy. What it means is supersize that. It's like going down the street to Wendy's. Do you want to make that a small, medium, or large blessing? I want a large blessing, please. See, in the Jewish world, we have this phrase, a double portion, many, many times. And it doesn't deal with mine is bigger, therefore yours is smaller. But God's blessings are so great. Are you able to live with an extra helping of God's power in your life? We read in the book of Deuteronomy, when Moses sets out the laws, that the eldest son is to have a double share because he's got to take care of mom and all the others. We read in Isaiah that the people of Israel who have been so oppressed that when their time comes, there will be a double portion of blessing from God. We read in the book of Revelation that evildoers will receive a double portion of torment and torture. We read in Job that Job, who was a wealthy man, a powerful man, with everything in the world could desire, he loses everything, such that he's sitting on a dung heap. His children are dead, his fortune is gone, his reputation ruined, and his wife says, just roll over and die. By the end of the story, we're told that Job was given a double portion of blessing, and he had twice as much at the end as he did in the beginning. So it's not so much an expression of selfishness, but power asking God to send you the ability, the strength, the character to be. Do you remember there's an old Army commercial on the TV, "Be all that you could be"? What that commercial, it was very clever. The Army and the military in the United States are one of the major media buyers because they've got to attract, recruit tens of thousands of young men every year, and now young women. And they've got to be interesting. They've got to provide something. And so, you don't see commercials. Join the Air Force and spend 4 years in a North Dakota missile silo. And see the world in the Navy. Or be a knight in shining armor in the Marines. Or be all that you can be in the Army. Meaning, your life is going to be much better than it is right now. You'll be in shape, you'll be educated, you'll be trained, you'll be confident. You'll still be you, but that you will be the best you can be. And this is a double portion of full spiritual blessing. Who you are will be made so strong that you can be God's agent for the world. See, when you pray, we're not pagans. We don't think God is Elizabeth Montgomery on the set of Bewitched, and when you want something, she twinkles her nose. God, when we pray to God, is not a slot machine. He's the infinite source of power and joy and strength. Sometimes Christians, though, are ashamed or unable to ask for that power. We view God as being a Mr. Bumble. You know who Mr. Bumble is? Saw this on TV the other night. You remember the movie Oliver? 1968, the musical. Oliver Twist, the little orphan boy, walks up with his bowl of gruel to Harry Seacombe, singer and comedian. And Harry Seacombe is the beadle in the orphanage. He's the governor, he's the warden, he's the representative. Please, sir, may I have some more? And Harry Seacombe in his wonderful high baritone voice, more? Please, sir, may I have some more? More! And the song begins. No boy has ever asked for more. And the fun begins. There's a chase around the orphanage. But we imagine God sometimes as being like Mr. Bumble. That if we come to him with a bowl of supplication of my sufferings and my need, the Lord is going to go, more? You're bothering me about this? The Lord wants to be bothered. Yes, he does. The Lord wants to be bothered. He wants to know. Do you think God doesn't know what's in your heart? Do you think you have to sort of clean up your words, your thoughts, put them in an order before you can talk to God? Or that God is so far, so lofty, so different, that when you ask him, here is my suffering, Lord, here are my needs, Lord, he's going to yell, more? How dare you presume to ask? The Lord wants you to ask. But for many of us, we're fearful because, well, I really shouldn't ask for me. I should be like Miss America and say, and when Bert Parks comes up to you in Atlantic City on the stage and say, what do you want in life? World peace and happiness. That's what we think we are with God. That God wants to, it's Bert Parks or Mr. Bumble, that we've got to come up with some platitude that grasp who we are. God doesn't want his time wasted. He knows your needs and he wants you to share and speak them. Now the story of Elisha continues. Elijah is carried off into heavens on a chariot of fire. In a whirlwind, he doesn't die. His body doesn't corrupt. Moses and Elijah and Enoch in the Old Testament do not die. They are taken up into heaven. The Catholic Church, they teach that Mary did not die, that she was taken up to heaven. We can or cannot believe it. It's up to you. That's the Episcopal answer on Mary. But they're assumed into heaven without bodily corruption, waiting for the day of resurrection. And Elisha watches this go off, and his ministry begins. He performs a series of miracles to show that his request for a double portion of blessing was honored by God. It wasn't wrong to ask this because, bam, right off the bat, we've got 3 miracles. He parts the river of that he needs to cross, just like Moses did. He comes to a well where the water has been brackish and poisoned, and he purifies it so the water to this day is clean. And now to my third and probably favorite miracle of Elisha. This is a Sunday school special miracle. Let me read it to you. In fact, last night, a member of our congregation who has come back today denied that it was in here, and I had to show her where it was. Elisha, chapter 2, 2 Kings, chapter 2, verse 23. And he went up from there to Bethel. Now, Bethel is the center of idol worship in Israel. It's the Las Vegas. It's the Lourdes. It's Okeechobee, a place you just don't want to be if you're a good person. And he went up to Bethel, and while he was going up on the way, some small boys came out of the city and jeered at him, saying, "Go away, Baldy, go away!" Wonderful choices of illustrations. Go away, Baldy, go away! When he turned around and saw them, he cursed them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys. Isn't that a great story? If urchins are bad to you, you can call down God's power and 2 bears will come out of the woods and eat these little boys up. When I was in New Delhi, I really wanted to see some bears appear. Is it right, though, to call down curses? Does God really want us to yell to him, "Lord, send 2, Lord, show your power by smacking down these nuts and not just kids"? We read this in the Old Testament fairly frequently about obnoxious kids. But David in his Psalms, "Lord, let me kick in the teeth of my enemies. Let me dispossess them. Let me destroy my enemies. Let me triumph over this oppression." Jesus, in our gospel reading, enters the village of the Samaritans. And the Samaritans, who are related to the Jews culturally, genetically, biologically, but have taken upon themselves, they're like Christians are to Mormons. From the outside, everybody thinks they're the same, but within, Mormons aren't Christians, Christians aren't Mormons. Samaritans look and dress like Jews, but the Jews don't think they're Jews, and the Samaritans don't think they're Jews. And Jesus walks into the village, and the Samaritans basically don't give him the time of day. And the disciples ask something that was perfectly appropriate that Elisha did. "Lord, show your power by devastating this village of unbelievers." See, in Elisha, if we look at this story carefully of Elisha and the bears, the children shout, "Go away, Baldy, go away, go up, Baldy, go up," is the exact phrase. And that "go up" is how it was described by Elijah going into heaven. They're taunting him, saying, you're the one who's following Elijah will prove it to us by going to heaven too. They're calling him names. They're doubting his commission as a prophet. And they're from the town of idolaters that are poisoning Israel. And Elisha's commission as a prophet is to destroy idolatry, to cleanse all Israel, to wipe clean the stain of unbelief. And God answers his cries for help by sending 2 bears. Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus is cleansing the world from all sin, from all unrighteousness. Why did Jesus say, forget about it, let's keep moving? Because the law of Moses finds its completion, perfection in Jesus Christ. The law of an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth is no longer in effect because Christ has not canceled the law, nullified the law, but completed the law. And that the old covenant of Israel against the world has been replaced by the new covenant of Jesus with the world. Can I still pray for damnation for my enemies? Yes, you can. And now, this may be semi-psychological, but it is also theological. God knows what's in your heart. And it's much, much better to share your anger, your pain, your hurt, your sorrow with God than to do it with your own hands. I've reached a stage in my life where there's only 3 people who can hurt me emotionally. My wife and my 2 children. You know, really, I've reached the age where somebody comes up to me, business competitor, a stranger, somebody says something mean or cruel or whatever, I don't care. My children can destroy me with a word, can't they? Can they do it to you? So what should I do? Take it to the Lord. There are times when I wish bears would come out of the woods and eat urchins. There are times when I wish that the evil is to this world. Why doesn't somebody stop Hitler or ISIS or all these people before it got any worse? Why? Well, I'm never going to know the answer to that why. But I am to take this anger, this pain, this fear, and pray with the Lord, to the Lord. Because when I pray about my sufferings, when I give voice, as David gave voice to his pain and fear, what you're doing is taking it out of the physical and putting it in the spiritual, because the only solution really is going to be the spiritual cure of your pain. Have you ever gotten revenge? You feel good for about a day or 2. Then you have the rest of your life to regret. Because that revenge that you may have gotten may have been physical, may have been temporal. But the wound left by it is never healed. I'm working. Just before the service, Linda stopped and said, oh, I saw you on the video the other day talking about something that you're involved in. I'm involved in an abuse scandal. Not me, but me calling out people who have covered up abuse. And in talking to people who have been abused. In this case, it was Christian counselors abusing little boys. And to me, that is horrible. But we have spousal abuse. We have that in our community, spousal abuse. We have this in the church. We have that same sort of pain and brokenness and loss. The pain that these little boys, who are now men my age, all this happened 30, 40 years ago. And they're finally talking about it to people like me. These guys happen to be in England because it's only safe to talk to an American, because I don't know any of these people, but they know me. So I'm not going to tell anybody that they were abused, because the shame they've had. They may have had physical or some sort of a response to evil, but because they never took it to the Lord, that abuser has been still abusing them in their heart for 30, 40, 50 years. This is what Christ is teaching us. Yes, it's perfectly okay in your heart to be angry at the evil that has been done to you. Don't make yourself a double victim by feeling guilty about being a victim. about feeling guilty that somebody did something to you. Perhaps I deserved it. Maybe I was wearing a dress. Have you ever spoken to a girl who's been abused? And she breathes, and one of the things she comes back to, perhaps I deserved it because I was wearing something that I should have been wearing. That's the abuser, continuing to abuse herself. I heard a phrase from one of these boys who are now my age saying, dirty things happen to dirty little boys. This was told to them when they were abused at the time. The only way forward is to take it to Jesus Christ in prayer. And it's perfectly fine and good and true to put voice and feeling and anger of, Lord, kick the teeth of my enemies. Lord, send a bear to devour them. Because the vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Healing is also mine, says the Lord. Jesus can lift you out of that brokenness. Doesn't mean he's a narcotic that's going to dull your mind to what happened. You'll still know. But the power of the enemy over you will be broken forever. And it becomes historical, not a living pain. Friends, it's okay to pray for bad things. Don't do bad things. There's a big difference. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. It was the Lord who sent the bears after the virgins, not Elisha. And that's a distinction. Don't take the Lord's law in your own hands. That's true in our life today with crime. We don't want or need vigilantes. It's true with the Lord and sin. Now, that's not to say that we're just be passive and take it, roll over, and let bad people do bad things without our responding. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying stand up for righteousness, stand up for truth, protect the weak, serve the poor, be there for people as you can be there, but allow the Lord to seek the vengeance and allow the state to exact retribution and take it to God.